you see these amazing cars like E63s and M's, and it's like, and it's like their perception is that they got power. But that's literally the worst possible tune you could put in that car.
Literally dumping fuel out.
Just raw fuel into the exhaust. And
the snap, crab, go pop tune.
And then the flame tunes, even worse.
It's funny because your Ferrari 458, you said you put like one of those
Pops
like pop-ups.
Yeah,
tunes.
Cut the fuel economy in half. And the thing felt like a dog.
To drive, yeah.
And I was like, this is horrible. We need to get this out of here.
Yeah, you should do the intro this time, Rob. Come on.
Do the bassy voice.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can.
Send it. You know what I say all the time, so.
Welcome to another episode by TrickFactory. No, see? I can't do it. It's not my thing.
So close. Welcome back to another episode on Modify with TrickFactory Customs.
That's creamy, bro.
Oh, thank you. Smooth jazz.
That's nice.
Yeah, okay. And on this podcast, we talk about cars, modifying cars, building cars. We're a custom automotive shop based here in British Columbia, Canada, Vancouver-ish. And on this episode,
we're answering a question, sort of from one of our listeners, our viewers.
Yes,
right.
Yes. So
actually, it's become a really popular question. It's not just one. I've had a bunch of people hit me.
I really like this, getting questions and sort of suggestions from our viewers, our listeners.
Yes,
it's cool.
And so the question was, or a guy hit us up on Instagram. He's a huge fan. He bought a 2013 Focus ST. And he loves the car. He got a cold air intake for it. Initially, he thought, I guess, that it was going to mean more power. More power. But he doesn't think that he's noticed any difference at all. And so that's one big misconception, I think, that people have in modifying cars. And so he asked, could we discuss which common car tuner mods make the car worse, which ones are worthwhile and increase the value, perhaps, of the vehicle, and which ones are like those ones that are like, oh, you do some mods, but nothing, you don't notice any changes. And you end up spending that extra money for pretty much nothing. So, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
We're going to be talking about that in this video.
We can do the best we can.
Yeah.
Because we've made all the mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to have to generalize it a little bit because I have no experience with a Focus ST.
Yeah. No, I feel like that applies to...
Pretty much applies to everything.
Yeah, I think so, right? But I mean, and through all the generations and years of car manufacturing, these sort of suggestions, what makes or breaks kind of changes, along the years.
Yeah. Before we get started, what's been the week like? Or, whoa, I said that out of order. What has the week been like for you guys?
This week's been pretty good. We've been basically focusing on our SEMA projects and getting those, we're deep into them now, so that's pretty much all I've been doing all week. And then we made a little bit of time for the Euroho project, which is blown up, so that's pretty exciting. It's been pretty epic week for social media growth. I don't know what that translates to reality yet, but it's a fun thing to see go wild. So, because
just for context, at this time last week when we were talking about the Euroho and the Lamborghini Urus Chevy Tahoe body swap project, we were at 60 something thousand, I think. When we made this, because we did a whole dedicated episode last week.
Before we started, dropped that reel.
Yeah, we were at like 35,000.
Yeah. And now we're at 143,000 a week later.
Yeah.
So definitely, that project has definitely got some momentum.
So Instagram is exploded quite a bit. That's pretty good. Even our YouTube channel has kind of
tripled the size,
grown quite a bit. So it's pretty cool to see.
Yeah,
it's fun.
So we've been responding to a lot of thousands of comments, and I think the Instagram video, one of them has like 8 million views right now. Another one has like 6.
Mind blowing. Yeah.
It's amazing. So
thanks for your guys' support.
Really appreciate it. Yeah, everyone that watches the channel and checks out the podcast. It's been a lot of fun seeing all the positive comments. Some negative ones here and there about cutting up Tahoes and me laughing too much, but yeah.
Yeah, like the idea, like I was telling you, I was like, the idea that somebody would comment that you are having too much fun.
I know.
Man, what a crazy world.
Yeah.
So
I don't get it.
interesting.
Yeah, that really is.
Like,
Yeah.
that guy's having too much fun. You need to stop it.
Yeah,
'cause
stop that.
It's annoying me. It's
Yeah,
like,
stop laughing.
Yeah, like,
I'm
that's
like, come
crazy.
on, man.
Might want to check yourself.
Yeah,
I know.
If you're that person.
If you don't
might-
like it, mute the volume or
Yeah, you
something.
might need to change your
Or-
friends group, I think.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or maybe you're the guy that your friends need to get rid of.
I know.
Hey, well, we're having a good time doing it, so it's really cool that we're getting some support from everybody out there watching, listening.
Yeah.
You know, it's fun for us, and you know,
It's a
we're
lot of fun. It's just,
It's
yeah.
legitimately fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the idea of turning that off is like, no, man, I'm only doing it for fun.
Yeah.
yeah,
Like, as much as, we put it on YouTube, it's really not for anything other than having fun.
Yep, that's it.
If you suck the fun out of it, I'm not doing it anymore.
Yeah. So if you're not interested in the laughter and the fun, then bye.
Yeah.
So
There's a lot of other boring ass channels. You can
exactly. But and then what else? Let's see. You've been doing Skylark things.
yeah. I've been getting back into the Skylark pretty deep. We've got a lot of front end things that I'm working on right now. It's just a lot.
Yeah.
We've talked about the Skylark on many occasions, and it's a huge build project for us. Every single part of the car is custom, and I'm working on the whole coolant system in the front right now, creating new rad support. It's getting new headlights. Like, there's literally nothing OEM on this
literally.
thing at all anymore. Changing everything. So yeah,
Pretty awesome.
the snowball is rolling, and it's getting big.
Yeah.
So anyways, yeah, that's what I've been doing. I've been kind of doing that primarily, and then bouncing around a little bit here and there, helping out the boys when they need it. And yeah.
Helping me out with my LS swapped Jag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You and Tim. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate your help.
Well, you know what?
Ugh.
I desperately want to see that thing do a burnout.
Yes.
So that's part of the deal we made.
Hopefully soon.
I will help you swap an LS into your Jag
Oh, thank you, sir.
if you do a massive cooker.
Oh yeah. It's gonna
Actually,
be
we've
amazing.
had a bunch of shop projects, employee projects all coming together. So we
Yeah.
joke about it all the time. Like, the idea of all of us having something finished at
That
the same
runs.
time would be like, that's an epic moment. I
Yeah.
think we're getting pretty close to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're seeing a lot of positivity in that respect right now. Like, you got your Jag coming along. Brett's pretty much dialed and finished with
truck.
his C10 build.
We had
Really,
some
really
late
nice
nights with
truck.
that, but I mean, yeah, it's crazy.
Spencer's E30/Porsche. That's also coming
Yeah,
together.
yeah, and then we had, Tim has the slant nose that we're, he's been driving and enjoying, and then the Evil Evo.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing a little bit of background work on my 996
Yeah.
Carrera as well. Yeah, just having a good time.
Yeah, your wing
still
looks
no
amazing.
Datsun stuff yet, so if
I know.
anybody's waiting for that,
Sad.
It's coming.
it's coming.
Coming soon.
It stares at me every day, and I do really want to get into it.
But you want to get
I have
your
to get my
done
Porsche finished first.
Yeah, that's priority.
That's my daily, and it needs to be representing properly. So
Yeah.
I'm doing a massive amount of fiberglass modifications. I have a full kit on it, and it's not wide body. I like the narrow body stuff.
Yet.
But I got crazy aero things that I'm developing.
Not wide body yet.
No, it's never going to be a wide body. No, I'm not that guy. Save the wide body for Tim
Your Datsun.
and you.
Your Datsun has a wide body. Exactly.
Jay. True enough. I have a rocket body kit for my dad.
Exactly.
But,
yeah, exactly. So
That's it.
yeah. So let us dive into the topic of conversation.
Other than everything, we haven't been up to anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think, where do we even want to start with this one? Because
Well, let's address the question, the initial question to begin with.
Yes.
So the cold air
intake.
The cold air intake on a car is, I mean, it's a pretty typical place to start for most people, when they start modding or, modifying.
I think we need to differentiate, what the horsepower gains are. Because, in our industry, it's like you have seat of the pants, and then you have dyno.
Butt dyno and dyno.
Dyno and, butt dyno are two completely different things. So if
Yeah.
you put a cold air intake on, and it makes a claim of 3.5 horsepower, blah, 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 chances are, seat of the pants, you are not going to feel that.
Never gonna
Yeah.
feel
So it doesn't necessarily mean you're not making more power, so you can't be get hating on the product, because it probably does. but in reality, you're not going to feel it.
Yeah,
But-
that's a very good point. That's a really, really good point. Like, you're not going to notice 3 horsepower.
No. And so even if you think you notice it, for the most part, it's mostly just like a placebo effect.
You put a cold air
Yeah.
intake on right away.
You're like,
it's
"Oh,
it
this
makes a
feels
little
like more
more
power,
induction
but-"
noise because
Yeah.
it usually removes some form of an air box,
Yep.
a resonator.
Yep.
And then you get that induction noise. And you're like, yeah. But
Yeah,
then
that's cool.
when you rip it, you're like, oh. You
Yeah,
don't
wait a
really notice
second.
that. Yeah. And then sometimes you can even go the other way because a lot of times you need parts that are paired together to get the full effect of what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like if you're getting more air in, you need to get more air out.
yeah,
So
exhaust, yeah.
all these kind of things. So if you're just doing one, and we see it all the time, like back in the day, like Mustangs. I'm going to pick on Mustangs right
Okay.
now because there's like this formula of Mustangs where it's like everybody has this perception where it's like this will give you 15 horsepower, this will give you 35 horsepower, this. Then they add it all up. Like I got 600 horsepower. Then they put it on a dyno. It's like 390. They're like, ugh.
Yeah.
Because it's mismatched parts. So it's like you got to do your research and make sure you get the right stuff that works together.
Yeah. And speaking of working together too, you have to have not only, especially modern cars, cold air intake, exhaust, and you probably are going to need to get a tune as well to take advantage of that
Everything
extra,
that you've done.
because everything works in tandem with each other usually. So I don't know if this guy got a tune or not, or if he even got an exhaust, but so far I know he just got a cold air intake.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think like modern cars are so well engineered nowadays that, you know, there's built-in ability for the ECU to tune itself. If you just put a cold air intake on, more than likely you don't need to do a tune. But if you're, you know, doing an exhaust system and a cold air intake, now you're starting to push the air in and out a little bit more efficiently. Maybe a tune might help. And every manufacturer is going to be built to a different level of efficiency as well. Like, and like it's a different kind of car. Like if it's let's say like a BMW M car, you know, it's a pretty well engineered car in a higher sort of tier level of performance. You know, the manufacturer did a really good job. They pretty much maximized that platform. There's always room for improvement, but if you have, say, a Honda Civic, you know, it's an efficiency built car. Like it's made for fuel economy, and you start doing these kind of mods to it, you're going to see increases in performance levels going up at a remarkable level compared to something else. You know, and I think that's why it's kind of like generalized, like the term, it's just like, you know, you do this and it's going to give you 3 horsepower here, but if you do it to this car over here, you might get 13.
Yeah. That's smart. I didn't even think about that when thinking about this topic, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Which is why Civics have the reputation that they do, because the jumps are so huge. So you do a simple thing and put a turbo on it, and like you're doubling the horsepower. No
Which is
problem.
super cool. Like, and so like when we're talking about Honda Civics and those platforms, like we're not shit talking on them. They're really, really good cars. If you want a like entry level car that, and you like, you know, like deep down inside, you're the kind of person that wants to modify your things. Those are great platforms for that, because every single thing that you do is going to give you a more remarkable improvement in your seat of the pants.
Yeah.
As well as like the sounds that it makes and all the things. Like you're just going to have a more visceral experience.
Another thing too, not just cold air intake, but I feel like something that doesn't necessarily give you the power or a lot of power depending on the car is what's it called, like headers or catless. Whenever people do like cat deletes and all of that, sometimes it does, but I feel like these days, like you said, the manufacturers have it so dialed that they almost squeeze out as much power or make the flow, optimize the flow as much as possible.
Yeah, sometimes
So
you can
true.
actually go backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you don't tune it, you're going to be making less horsepower.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, okay, no, keep going.
No, it's just, yeah, like you say, like we've dealt with exhaust systems that'll have like multiple O2 sensors in it. So then they're set up to read specific values and make adjustments to your tune, and then you remove the cats or you remove one of these O2s, and then next thing you know, you're making less power than you were before.
Yes.
So unless you make the subsequent adjustments after you remove those things, you're literally making less power.
Yeah. See, and you get a car like that, and then now all of a sudden,
It sounds cooler, so you think it's got more power.
like a retune on the ECU is like mandatory at that
Yep.
point. Like in a car that is going to be like that. Like you didn't have to do it because you're dealing with volumetric efficiency of the engine and the whole system. You got to deal with that. You got to. It's engineered.
Volumetric efficiency.
Yeah,
Sounds so fancy.
sounds-
I feel like I should be with my pinky up.
Makes me sound a lot smarter than I actually am. So
But no, that's very true because I remember when I replaced my 370Z's, cats with catless downpipes. I noticed on the low end torque, low end power, it dropped almost dramatically.
Yeah, because your O2s are reading different values.
Yeah.
Probably either overfueled or underfueled. And then next thing you know, you're losing power.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the weird thing about right now. Like, we see so many amazing cars, and I think they do it on purpose because our shop is on a very main thoroughfare. And it's like, you see these amazing cars, like E63s and M's, and it's like, bah, 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 and it's like, their perception is that they got power. But that's literally the worst possible tune you could put in that car.
Literally dumping fuel out.
Just raw fuel into the exhaust. And
snap, crackle, pop tune.
yeah, and you'll get guys that are like, bah, 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 bah. And you're like, thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you,
Like,
yeah.
I'm super impressed. See you later.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's so wild that that's the way people think. Like, and then the flame tunes, even worse.
It's funny because you just mentioned that because on your Ferrari 458, you said you put like one of those
Pops
like
and
pop
bangs.
tunes
Cut the fuel
In it.
economy in half. And
Yeah.
the thing felt like a dog.
to drive. Yeah.
And I was like, this is horrible. We need to get this out of here. But that was like a car show sort of thing that we played with, and it was like immediately regretted it, like
Yeah.
almost immediately. So
Well, I mean, that's just one of those things. Like if you want a car like that and you want to have like the most efficient, best performance vehicle that you can get, then you don't screw around with that.
Yeah.
That's for like realistically in the street. Like if you're not actually performance driving, who cares? Snap, crackle, and pop.
If you
tune.
enjoy it,
if you want,
go
I mean, if
crazy,
that
but
puts
it
a
just-
smile on your face, do your thing.
Yeah.
But like it's dumb.
Yeah.
It's screwing with your fuel economy. I mean, that's how well engineered these
but
things are.
if you're a true car enthusiast, you don't give a shit about fuel economy.
Exactly.
man.
You're just there for the sound
just
and the
burn as
noise
much
and the
gas as
fuel.
possible.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's driver mod.
yes, so that's a good segue to the next topic, which is driver mods. But before we go there, I also just want to give credit to the guy that suggested this topic. I
Yeah.
forgot to do it initially. His name is Larry Kreidler. Sorry if I destroyed your name, but yeah, he seemed like a nice guy and he wrote some other things. But yeah, he also talked about like torque curve improvements and how the air intake, or wanted to know like if that plays in the part. But we talked a little bit about that. But let's dive into driver mods. So when we say driver mods, because the reason I guess you talked about this, Tim, was, or you brought this up, was people think in general, I do it all the time, I'm like, I feel like I need more power. Like all the cars that I've owned, like I'm like, yeah, I've gotten to the end of this power limit, I need more power, and keep on adding more power, more power. But or even more braking, for example, I'm like, yeah, I need more brakes here, there, but I haven't made the driver mod, which is myself, which is me. and sometimes even going on a track, like I'm like, yeah, I think I'm going to be fast on the track, but then I go there and I'm getting spanked by Miatas. And so that's like one big thing but Miatas have like 100 horsepower, but
Yeah, and they're roasting you.
exactly. And
That's
so
that whole smooth is fast kind of thing. So it's like knowing when to brake and all that kind of stuff, when to accelerate, and then that's what makes you fast around the track. But a lot of these guys that suck, they just come in super deep and it's like lock the brakes up, and then they're hard on the gas trying to accelerate out. It's like, that's not how you do it. So immediately, like, I need bigger brakes. I need to stop faster. And you're like, no, you don't. You just need to learn how to brake better. That's it. And it's like again, the Honda topic is like every single Honda kid, like on a track, this thing, like, you guys aren't on tracks. We've been to how many tracks? I don't never see the Honda kids out there. So like, I think those guys would probably build better cars if they spent more time on a track.
yeah.
Like if they actually went to the track and learned how to drive better, they would know which modifications and would be smarter.
Yep.
And if you address them sort of one at a time, I think you as the car builder are going to get smarter too.
Yes.
Because you're going to incrementally understand the effect that any given part has on your car. And it's like anytime you're troubleshooting, you do one thing at a time.
Smart, yeah.
So it's the same.
Change
you don't
one
just throw
thing.
a whole bunch of shit at it, take it out there, this thing's horrible, and then you're trying to figure it out. But it's like you probably created the problem. But like even to answer this guy's question, like I would do everything if I was to do it now. I did all the dumb shit. So like I did this from experience. Like I got to get all these things that everybody else has. But if I had to progress through the thing, like maybe get better brake pads and try that. And then the next better brake pads and like, okay, well, we're out of pad.
Get bigger rotor.
Maybe
or-
we should go to a bigger rotor or better calipers and then do it. But everybody gets themselves so psyched out. That's why you see all these half-built shitty cars is because like, nope, unless I can get the big Brembo big brake kit, there's no point.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
no, man, this you can do it. And it's the same as him starting with an intake. I would say the complementary piece to his cold air intake is a header. Do a header first. But then you would have an understanding of what you can expect as an increase rather than just like, oh, I got to get a turbo kit. Because that's a whole nother, like you got a whole bunch of other things. It's not just as easy as throwing a turbo kit on. Like you got to get fuel, you got all these things.
Fuel, air.
Tunes. And if you're not ready for that jump, then it's, you got this thing that runs horrible or is blowing up, or it's now you got to rely on a whole bunch of other people and you still don't have a general understanding of what you're doing. And then you're at the mercy of some guy. Like I just listened to a whole dyno thing with like some crazy expensive parts. And it's like somebody built this motor that has no clue what they're doing under the recommendation of a guy that wanted to play with all these crazy parts. And now they got this car that doesn't work at
Just
all.
doesn't drive,
It's
or-
like it's just a mishmash of like high dollar shit. And it's like nobody like how did the owner get in this position? Why? Because he got some guy that's like, oh, let's do this, build a block, blah 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 blah. Next thing you know, he's got a pile of shit. He can't even drive it. They're got to rebuild the block, and it's got needs new bearings, needs all this shit. It hasn't even run yet.
Oh no.
So it's like that's how you end up in that predicament, because it's like all these kids throw all this wild shit out, like, oh, just buy this. It's not just buy that. You got a lot of other things you got to buy. Plus, you need to understand what you're buying
Yeah.
and what it actually takes to run that. And what anytime you start building power, you're always giving up something. You're taking something away in exchange for adding. Always. Unless you got like a Lambo and you're going to spend $100,000, then then you're in a completely different class of build. But otherwise, you're giving something up to get power.
It's a give and take regardless. Like it just depends.
Yeah.
Like even in a Lambo,
Yeah,
if you
Lambo.
want, 2,500 horsepower sheepy race kit
Yeah,
or something
as
like
soon
that,
as you
that's
get to
so
that point,
fucking
it's
awesome.
sick.
Who doesn't want that? It's freaking amazing.
But then
but it's gonna
your car doesn't handle because you got to put slicks all the way around just to make it so it doesn't murder you.
well,
and then
just
you're-
that, and the compromise is like in like normal street use.
Yeah.
Like that's the give and take. Like you want more here, you're gonna take away from here.
Yeah, so I would say do it slowly, one thing at a time. Understand all your steps, but work through the entire range of those parts. Use it as a learning platform.
Yeah, understanding what changes happen with each choice is a tremendous tool to have in your arsenal. Cold air intake, header, more free flowing exhaust system, some sort of ECU tune.
And those platforms
Those
are
are
great for
great.
it, dude, because they're meant to replace individual parts.
Yeah.
So you can do it modularly. Like you could do cold air intake, do your exhaust system, then do your header because it's meant to bolt in place of the stock header. So you can do it in steps. Like you don't need to go all the way to the end and just like gut your car and
No.
like it's
It's
so
too far.
It's too
Yeah,
far.
yeah.
You'll never come back.
Yeah, and even actually, I just remembered Focus ST. A friend of mine had one. Those cars are glorious, torque steer nation. But is it torque steer? The one you like floor it in a front wheel drive car,
Yeah.
you keep going straight. Okay, burnout, perfect. But he got, I think it was called a stratified tune. I think they're a Canadian company. But they tune a lot of Fords, Subarus, all that stuff. But he got a stratified tune for it. Like he got an access port and did all of that. I think cold air intake, I think exhaust. I don't know why they all called them stages, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. But he got a tune on all of that. And I think it made like 250 horsepower to the wheel. So like that was insane. So you could just lay into it and it's just doing a front wheel drive burnout. And that was a lot of fun. And it didn't make it scary fast. I did not feel like I was going to die when I drove that car. And so that's probably where you should go from there. Because the cold air intake sound is amazing. But it would even be more awesome if you could actually not just sound fast, but actually be faster. So, yeah. Then anything else? I think this is going to be a very short podcast, actually. This is going to be a short one.
So like I just wanted to like clarify a little bit. Driver mods you're talking like this is like just like driver training kind of mods.
Go do a track day in your stock car and find out where your car actually is lacking. And then improve it.
And find out where you lack.
Yeah, find out where you lack. Like you might be a terrible driver. So what's the point of having a crazy car if you can't drive it? And that's the sort of the reality of the racing world. Like none of these guys are mechanics.
No.
So, I mean, if you want to understand what does what and why, that's a great place to go and do it. Just go out for a track day. Like, actually go out for a track day. Instead of building a car that's... 90% of these cars would never be good on a track.
No.
And we've built shit that would never be good on a track. But we're building it for a different reason, a different aesthetic. But if you are actually going to get on the internet and talk shit to people about track this, track that, this thing would slay everything on a track, is like... I don't think you fully understand what's actually good and fast on a track. It's different than what you think it is. It's not just horsepower, and it's not just power to weight ratio. Like everyone throws a power to weight ratio out there, but it's like that's not just it. You got all kinds of other things. You got traction and vehicle dynamics and suspension settings and all this other stuff.
Tires.
Yeah, I always think about tires like tires are probably one of the single most important modifications anybody could do to their car. And like tires come in different sort of grades, right? Different traction grade levels. And I feel like, sticking to like a tire, like if you're new to driving and you're like you want to like go out and performance drive, you do a track day, don't buy like really badass tires right away. I mean, go ahead and do it if you want, but like you're better off having like a more sort of like entry level tire that has a lower traction limit.
Yeah.
And then go out and learn how to drive your car with those tires, because you will be at a higher level of thrill when your tires are like begging for mercy, and like who doesn't want that? Like yeah. That's awesome, and then when you become comfortable with that, then you can go up to a higher tier level tire. Now you're starting to encroach on like the limitations of how your chassis is engineered, and you can start thinking about modifications. Do I need to upgrade my sway bars? Do I need to upgrade to different coilovers? Maybe I already did coilovers, but now I'm finding limitations in the single adjustable or non-adjustable coilovers that I did buy that lowered my car. Now I need to have 2 or 3-way adjustable coilovers because I have more traction and my chassis needs this. And you just work your way up in tiers like that. Like, of course, that's the long route, and it costs you more money in the end, but the thrill of operating your automobile is going to be much, much higher.
Yeah.
Like one of my single happiest, automotive experiences in my life is when we rented that Audi A6 wagon in Germany and drove on the Autobahn all the way to Nürburgring.
Sick.
This was a standard issue commuter car, basic commuter tires on it, and like the tires were just toast.
Really?
After we did 4 laps on the Nürburgring in that car. And it was the most amazing experience of my life.
The best part of it was like is literally exactly what you said. Like every corner is like
tire squeal.
But it was like so GT3s were like
yeah. It's like we were standing still at the absolute limit of this car's ability in mid corner, and cars are blowing by you.
Like you're standing still.
And like
That's insane.
I was already like at the limit of my own like ability.
Driver,
The sensory input at that point was like so maximized that I don't think I could even handle going as fast as these other cars were going. So it's like they're blowing by you, making you look like you're not even moving. And I'm like, I don't think I couldn't even do that.
That's insane.
Like that the level of thrill and skill
That's
required
the
to drive it
tires
like that.
are probably matched to your ability.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're giving you like a warning. Like,
yeah.
and you're like,
Well, and the side effect benefit of like a lower tier level tires, they cost less.
Yeah, and you can slide it more too. Like it depends on what you what you're going for. If you're going for lap times, then it's a different thing.
Yeah.
But
So
like
when you get to a point where you're trying to go faster and faster and faster, then that's when you like, hey, I need better tires.
Yeah.
yeah, because prime example, my Genesis, I put what's it called? These cheap tires on it. It had way better tires
the
before.
Nankangs on
No,
it?
it's not even Nank. I don't know. It's like Comforcers or something. I don't even know
yeah?
what the
Every time
name.
you say that, I can't even believe somebody would name something
I know.
like that.
No, I don't think they're Comforters, but they're actually real tires. But they were like cheap. But I was like, I probably want, before it had summer tires on it. But I was like, I want like something that I'll be able to like use in both, because we're in Canada and we get both weathers, I guess. I was like, I'll just get some cheap all weather tires. So they're technically snow rated. But it is literally the worst of both worlds because,
Yeah.
oh my
Not good
gosh,
at either
it's
thing.
not good at either. It's the compound is so soft that like even in the summer, it's almost, if you go into any corner, like even if you're doing like 20, 30, or you just, it like breaks loose, man. It is so sketch. Like even going around roundabouts, I'm like modulate my speed, but it's also almost kind of fun in a way. I'm like, ooh,
does a great burnout.
Like, yeah, be like a drifty boy. No, it's different from the ones I did a burnout in. Like I upgraded
yeah?
tires after that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So these ones are not very good, and so there's a part of me that's like, oh, I like it, but there's also a part of me that's like, they're unpredictable because sometimes they lose grip, sometimes they're okay, sometimes they're, so I don't know.
You get those racer boy feelings at a much lower speed.
Yeah. It does have like 400 horsepower, so it also does not help that I'm just flooring it into a corner and almost like slide out the other way. But if you're looking for that, like that's also a way to go. Cheap tires all day. But if you're looking for something that's actually faster, then you might want to, like Tim and Rob were saying, work on one set of tires for a while, see where you need to improve, and if it's tires or whatever you need to improve, even if it's brakes, like yellow stuff pads.
We've had it a million
or
times
red.
where it's like, the brake pads is like one side of the equation, but like we've all done it where we've had this car that was like peel the tires off, and then you put bigger tires on.
Yeah.
Say, like muscle cars are classic.
Yeah.
They come in here on 8-inch wide rims with like a 235, and then we go and put like a 285 on a 20-inch wheel, and there's no more burnouts.
A more modern sort of spec level tire.
Yeah, so it's
you know,
like-
in a stock chassis muscle car.
Yeah.
You put modern, wheel and tire package on it, they're f***ing trash.
They just
fall
They're
on their
absolutely garbage.
Because now it's like it exaggerates how the suspension is.
Yeah.
Because you're pushing it harder than you were able to before, because you didn't have the traction limit.
Yeah, to actually get that
to
grip.
get it that far out into how the suspension actually is, because your tires were already squealing and you slowed down. So like all these old timer guys with, like think these old Hemi cars and muscle cars were fast. They were not fast. They're like 250 horsepower on a 6-inch wide tire. So it felt crazy. Then you go put like a 275 on the back with a modern compound. They can't even burn tires.
Yeah.
Like it's so like progressing through all the levels like that I think it's probably the better way to go.
Yeah.
Awesome. I think
Yeah, so
that's-
kudos to Roadster Shop for designing great chassis for muscle cars.
Yes.
Yeah, we
yes.
love you guys.
Not sponsored, but
Not sponsored.
they're an amazing company.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and if you look in the background, the yellow car right behind Tim is a 67 Corvette. Probably one of the worst fucking
And,
muscle
like,
cars
probably the
that
sketchiest
exist.
cars that I've ever driven.
yeah, you're gonna.
I
make
thought
people
they were
mad.
just talking shit because their chassis were so good, but then actually having driven one, I 100% agree with them.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, like tires are a very underrated modification for any
But
automotive.
it's a
I think
hard
they
one
just-
to buy because they're expensive.
they're freaking
Yeah, they are.
expensive.
They are expensive, but they're so worth it. And like once you've experienced what that actually means,
Yes.
Once you know, you know.
Yeah, and so Larry, you can try tires and maybe a tune as well and exhaust and see where it goes. But again, like Rob and Tim were saying, try it incrementally. Like, don't just send it all. No.
Yeah, don't expect major changes from little things like cold air intakes and full exhaust systems and stuff like that. Don't expect anything major in a modern car. You're not going to get that much. You're going to gain more in like how it sounds and how it makes you feel when you look at it than you are going to get from a performance perspective. I mean, you do it for that reason. If it makes you smile when you look at it, cool. It's something to talk about with your bros. But it sounds dope. So do it. Don't expect a lot.
If you like this podcast / video, I know it was kind of short today, but if you like this podcast / video, give it a thumbs up, give it 5 stars, or whatever podcast platform or YouTube that you're at, and we will see you guys next week. And if you have more questions, let us know.
Yeah,
send us either an Instagram, TrickFactory Customs, Modified with TrickFactory, Instagram, or media@trickfactory.com email. Okay, bye.
Cheers.